subsequently learn that?
I did.
And how did you learn that, I guess?
I don't remember.
Okay. Use your video, please. And I'm just going to show you what's been marked. Exhibit 20. Do you recognize this individual?
I do.
And who is that?
Well,
And 143, do you recognize him?
I do.
Who is he?
Carlos.
Now, you indicated there were occasions that Bo would be visiting at your home.
Yes.
And when he visited your home, did he ever stay over?
Yes.
And when he stayed over, where would he stay?
The basement.
And in your basement, is there a bedroom?
There is.
How often was he staying in your basement bedroom back in the spring of 2013?
How often?
Yes, ma'am.
Could have been a couple times a week, maybe a month. A couple times within the month. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. And during that time, how much time was he spending with the defendant, Aaron Hernandez?
I would say a good amount.
Okay. Now, on the night that after you had come back from South Street Cafe and you saw Bo and Carlos, did you have a conversation with either of them?
No.
Did you make observations of their demeanor?
No.
Okay. How long did you observe them at your home?
Maybe a couple minutes.
Did you see them going anywhere inside your home?
No, I went straight to my daughter.
Okay. And when you went straight to your daughter, did you meet with the babysitter?
I did.
And what room was that?
The family room.
Okay. And while you're in the family room, do you recall seeing anybody, the defendant, Carlos or Bo, coming and going through the family room?
I believe coming and going, but I knew they were behind me.
Okay. And the access point, the door to your basement is where?
Where would I be facing?
Yeah, I'm sorry, in the family room. From the family room, how do you get to your basement?
From the family room?
Yes.
Am I supposed to be facing the front door, or am I facing the position that I was in as far as the TV, or?
Yes, from where you were when you came into that family room that night, how far is the basement door from there?
How far?
Yes.
Say a couple feet. It's off to my left.
Okay. Did you see anyone coming or going to the basement?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know what they were doing, the defendant, Carlos, and Bo, after you had arrived home from the South Street Cafe?
No.
Did you have a conversation with the defendant about any plans that he had for that evening?
Not
or
from my
strike that, for
knowledge.
the early morning hours now?
Not from my knowledge.
Okay. And after some period of time, did you see them go somewhere?
I believe downstairs to the basement.
Okay. And when they went down to the basement, do you know how long they were in the basement?
I don't, unfortunately.
Okay. And at some point, did you see them, anybody, after they went to the basement, did they come out of the basement?
I believe so.
Okay. And just if you would, when you saw them come out of the basement, did you see anything in anyone's hands?
Not that I could remember.
Okay. And after you saw them go to the basement at some later time, come out of the basement, what did you see them doing?
I honestly have no idea. I was talking to the babysitter, so I don't think my focus was actually on them at that time.
Okay. Did you hear any conversation between them or amongst them?
Not that I could recall.
Okay. How long after coming out of the basement did you continue to see them in your home?
Maybe a couple minutes.
Okay. And then what did you see them do after a couple of minutes?
They left.
Okay. And when they left, was there any conversation about where they were going?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, after they left, at some point within a few minutes of them leaving, did you get a phone call?
Maybe.
Okay. Do you know who the phone call was from?
I think it was from Aaron.
Okay. And do you recall what he had called you about?
I think it might have been Odin's telephone number.
Okay. And when you say Odin's telephone number, did he ask you to look up Odin's telephone number?
I'm not sure.
And do you recall whether you had Odin's telephone number at that time?
I don't think so.
Okay. As a result of that, do you recall doing something when after being asked about Odin's telephone number?
I believe I text my sister.
Okay. And your sister, is that Shania?
Yes.
Now, approximately what time was this in the morning when you texted your sister?
I don't know.
Was it sometime, you left earlier when I was asking you some questions about leaving the South Street Cafe. Was that sometime in the area of 12:20 in the morning?
It was.
Okay. And you indicated the driving time was roughly 25 minutes to 30 minutes?
Correct.
And so do you recall approximately what time you had arrived back at your home?
I guess closer to 1 o'clock.
And then you indicated after arriving home, the defendant and Carlos and Bo were there for some period of time, is that right?
Correct.
And approximately how long in total would you say?
That they were there?
Yes, before they left.
I mean, anywhere from half an hour to an hour, maybe a little bit more, not sure.
Okay. So with regard to the approximate time, your best estimate of when you think they left your home, the defendant, Wallace and Ortiz?
You're asking me the time?
Yes, your best estimate of what time it would have been.
Maybe 1:30, 1:45-ish, 2 o'clock, somewhere around there.
And then how long after did you receive a phone call looking for, a phone call, your best memory is Aaron had called you?
Yes.
And how long after they had left do you recall getting that phone call?
I don't know.
I mean, within a matter of minutes, or is it sometime longer than that, if you know?
Wasn't minutes, I don't think. Maybe a half hour.
Okay. And so to the extent that I think you indicated after receiving that call from him, you texted your sister, were you able to get Odin's number?
Yes.
Okay. And as a result of, was that from your sister?
Yes.
And as a result of getting that number from your sister, what did you do with it?
I think I sent it over to Aaron.
Okay. And do you recall how you sent it? Was that by text or by phone call?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now, when he had called you for Odin's number, did he indicate what he needed Odin's number for?
I don't think so.
Okay. And just a few minutes ago, I had asked you about Carlos Ortiz, if you had recalled an occasion of meeting him in the past.
Yes.
John, may I approach? And ma'am, I'm just going to ask you again, if you wouldn't mind, to just read from line 14 down to line 18 and see if that refreshes your memory about whether you had previously met Carlos Ortiz.
You said?
14 to 18, I think.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Does that refresh your memory, ma'am?
Not really.
It does not?
No.
Do you recall indicating he was friends of the family?
I don't recall that, but it makes sense. I believe that's where he comes into play, I guess.
Oh, well, let me ask you this. Is he a friend of your family?
No.
Okay. And do you know if he's a friend of Aaron Hernandez's family?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, after that contact from the defendant about Odin's number, do you have any further contact with the defendant in the early morning hours of June 17, 2013?
This is after the text message?
Yes, like once you then had, I think you said your best memory was that you had texted him the
Right,
number?
right.
After that, did you have any further contact, if you recall?
I don't think so.
Okay. After the defendant, Carlos Ortiz, and Ernest Wallace left, did you stay up for a little bit longer?
Yeah, I believe I did.
Okay, and you recall whether you were visiting with somebody? Spent some time talking?
Yes.
And who was that with?
Jen, I believe.
Okay. And after some period of time, did she ultimately leave?
Yes,
And then at that point, did you go to bed yourself?
I did.
Okay. So after going to bed, when you woke up the next morning, do you recall the time you woke up the next morning? This would be now Monday, or actually I should say later that morning, Monday, June 17th.
I'm an early riser, so I don't know, maybe around 6, 7.
Okay. And when you woke up at that time, did you see the defendant?
I don't think I did.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you actually try and contact him?
Yes.
And when you tried to contact him, how did you do that?
By phone, maybe?
And were you able to make contact with him?
This is the 17th?
This would be Monday morning, the 17th, correct?
Okay, hang on, I have to get my days straight here. I don't know.
Okay. Do you recall after getting, after getting up, seeing him somewhere else in the home?
I think so.
And do you recall where you saw him next?
I think it was the basement.
Okay. And during the course of the night, did you ever see him sleeping in your bedroom?
In the course of the night?
Yes. So when you went to bed, between the time you went to bed and woke up, when you woke up, was he ever in your bedroom?
Now, are you talking about Monday into Tuesday, or?
I'm sorry. It's still Monday morning. So
Okay.
Monday morning when you woke up.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're asking me if he was in the bed?
Either in the bed or in the bedroom.
No, not from my knowledge.
Okay. And so after you got up, did you go downstairs?
I did.
And at some point, did you go to the basement?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, excuse me. When you next saw him, was that in the basement?
I don't think so.
Okay. Where do you recall then the first time seeing him since you saw him, the defendant, Wallace, and Ortiz leave in the early morning hours?
Okay. You're asking me when's the next time I had seen them after the early... I'm so confused on where
Okay,
you're...
I'm sorry, let me just back up a second. When you indicated that you had come home from the South Street Cafe,
Right.
and the three of them, the defendant, Bo, and Carlos, all left.
Okay.
Okay. The next occasion that, at some point the babysitter, you socialized with her, she left.
Right.
You went to bed.
Right.
And then when you woke up in the morning, the next time that you actually physically saw the defendant.
It would have been in our kitchen or family room.
Okay. And approximately what time was that?
I don't know. Maybe a couple hours after I was up.
Okay. And you've indicated you think you would have gotten up around 6 or 7?
Most likely.
Okay. So within those couple of hours, when just describe what was he doing in the kitchen?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. How did he appear to you when you first saw him?
Normal.
Okay. And after seeing him in the kitchen, at some point did you see him go to the basement?
I believe so. I'm not too sure.
Okay. Well, did you later see anybody else or in your home?
Yes.
Okay. And who else was in your home?
It was Bo and Carlos.
And when did you see them? How long after seeing the defendant in the kitchen?
Maybe sometime after. I'm not sure.
And when you say sometimes, is it a matter of hours or something shorter than that or longer than that?
I want to say shorter than an hour, but I'm not too sure.
Okay. And when, do you recall where you actually saw them?
In
Like-
the same area.
In the same area, which is what?
The kitchen and the family room, like in that, I guess,
Okay.
where they meet, if that makes sense.
And where they were meeting at that time, were they doing anything?
They may have been talking, I'm not too sure.
Okay. And how did they appear, this now being Bo and Carlos, how did they appear to you?
To me, fine.
I'm sorry?
Fine.
Fine, okay. And at some point, did you see while they're in the kitchen, did you ever see them having anything to eat?
Yes, I usually cooked.
Okay, do you recall cooking for the three of them on this date?
Yes.
Okay. And was that some form of breakfast?
I believe so.
Okay. And after breakfast, did you see what the three of them did?
I know they were interacting, well, Aaron was interacting with the baby, and they were at the pool area. But I don't really recall on any other activity.
Okay. When you say they were interacting at the pool area, what were they doing?
I know when I went out there, Aaron was in the pool with AVL, and I believe they were sitting either in a chair or on the side of the pool. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. And just, do you know what they were doing as they were sitting in chairs or near the pool?
I think just enjoying the weather.
Okay. What kind of day was it?
It was a sunny day.
And did you see them either having any food or drink outside near the pool?
Yeah, I think I made them smoothies.
Okay. And when you say smoothies, what was in the smoothie that you made?
What was in it? I have no idea.
Okay. Is that just a fruit drink, or is it an alcoholic beverage?
Oh, no alcohol, just a fruit drink.
Okay. And how long did you see them out enjoying the sun at the pool?
I don't know, I was in and out, so constantly checking on the baby and whatnot. I don't remember how long they were out there.
Okay. And how long did Bo and Carlos remain at your home?
It's a decent amount of time, I mean, for them to eat and then interact. Say a couple hours.
Okay. And at some point, did you see the three of them going back inside the home?
Yes, I believe they all came back in.
And did you see where they went? What part of your home did they go to?
Most likely to the basement.
And do you know what they were doing in the basement?
I don't.
Okay. And after they, at some point, did you see them come out of the basement?
Yes, I believe so.
And do you know where they went from there?
No.
At some point, you recall, did you ever see them in the kitchen having lunch or something in the afternoon?
I believe I only cooked once that day. Well, once for the whole group. I don't recall cooking a bunch, but I could be wrong because I'm always in the kitchen. So.
Okay. Do you recall at some point in the latter part of the afternoon anybody leaving?
Yes.
Okay, and who left?
The three guys left.
And when you say the three guys, that's Aaron, Bo, and Carlos?
Correct.
And do you know where they were going?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know how they left?
I'm assuming a car.
Okay. Do you know what kind of car they had available to them at that time?
Besides mine, no, I don't.
Okay. Where was your car?
In the bay, I believe.
Okay. And when you had returned from the South Street Cafe in the early morning hours of that same day, did you see any other vehicle in the area of your home?
When you came back from?
When you had come back?
I couldn't even tell you. I was drunk that night.
Okay. Did you know how Carlos and Bo had traveled to your home?
I'm assuming by a car.
Okay. Do you recall at any time in the later hours now when the sun had come up, seeing a vehicle, a car, either in your driveway in front of your house?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now, after the three of them left, do you know how long they were gone for? Did you see them sometime later?
I want to say yes, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you recall when seeing a vehicle later on after they left?
Okay, so seeing a vehicle after who exactly
Okay, I'm
left?
sorry. I think you indicated you don't recall seeing a vehicle before they left.
Right.
Okay. When they left, did you know whether your car was still in the garage?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know how they had left, how they were traveling?
No, I'm assuming another vehicle.
Okay. So do you recall at some point later, upon a return of any of them, seeing a car either in your driveway or in front of your house?
Not that I could remember.
Okay. Now, when you say they left, did you have a conversation with the defendant, Aaron Hernandez, about where they were going?
I don't think so.
Okay. And so the next occasion that you see the defendant was when? After they had left. When is the next time you see him?
I believe at the house.
Okay. And when you next saw him, was he with anybody?
Geez, I don't know.
Okay. So do you recall seeing either Bo or Carlos and saying goodbye or when they were leaving?
No, I don't remember
Okay.
them doing that.
Now, after he, at some point, when the next occasion that you saw him, do you recall going out later that evening?
Him and I?
Yes.
Meaning Aaron?
Yes.
This is still Monday?
This would still be Monday. Sometime in the evening, sometime after 5:30.
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you recall an occasion of going to Home Depot and Steakhouse?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Do you recall that being that evening?
I don't recall it being that evening, but we have.
Okay. And at some point, just fast forwarding now further into the evening, at around 9:45 in the evening, do you recall being upstairs in your bedroom?
At 9:45?
On that Monday, correct?
Being
June?
upstairs in my bedroom?
Yes.
I have no idea.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just ask it this way. Do you recall an occasion when you were in your bedroom, approximately 9:45 p.m., when you saw some lights, from flashlights outside your window?
Yes.
Okay. And focusing on that occasion, who else was in the bedroom with you?
Myself, Aaron, and our daughter.
Okay. And so just describe what first caused you to focus your attention on some lights outside your window.
What, my first reaction, or?
Yes. How was it you first saw some lights?
I mean, you can see them through our blinds.
Okay. And at that time, were your blinds open or closed?
They were closed.
And your windows from your bedroom, what part of your home do they front? What do they look out over?
They overlook the pool.
Okay. So is that to the rear of the house?
Yes.
So at some time around 9:45 p.m., do you recall then seeing some lights coming through your blinds?
Yes.
And as a result of seeing that, did you do something?
I did.
What did you do?
I let Aaron know that there were lights
Okay.
in our backyard.
And did he say anything to that?
It was more like we kind of took action.
Okay. When you say we took action, what did you do?
We went over to the monitor that we have in our bedroom.
Okay. And you say we, the both of you did?
Correct.
And just tell us, what did you do at the monitor?
We scanned our perimeter, I guess,
Okay. And how were you able to do that?
with our smart home system, I guess.
Are there certain cameras that you can control around your home?
Yes.
And where are those cameras?
In general,
Yes.
We have cameras in the backyard. We have a camera in our driveway. We have 2 cameras on the front porch. We have 2 cameras inside, foyer and family room, and then 1 in the basement.
Okay. And are you able to observe from your position up in the bedroom look through any of those cameras?
I'm sorry?
Sure, that was a bad question. Are you able to use that control panel up there to look, to have a view from those different cameras in your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in terms of movable cameras, cameras that you can actually control to either pan, zoom, or tilt,
Right.
did you have any of those cameras on your home?
Yes.
And where were those located?
On the front porch.
Okay. Now, as you indicated that when you and the defendant had gone over to the control panel, you took some action,
Right.
and were you able to see what was going on by using the cameras, what was going on outside in your yard?
Vaguely.
Okay. At some point, did you see any people?
Yes.
Okay, how many?
2, I believe.
And were you able to identify who they were?
No.
Okay. At some point, did you have a conversation with the defendant about who he either thought they were or who you thought they were?
I'm sure we exchanged words. I just don't know to what extent.
Okay. So the conversation that you were having at that time was what? About these 2 men outside your home with flashlights?
Right. We weren't expecting anyone, so we were trying to figure out who they were.
Okay. Were you able to see any vehicle that was now in or around you or on or near your property?
We could.
Okay, and what kind of car was that?
I have no idea.
Okay. These individuals that you saw, could you see how they were dressed?
Yes.
And were you able to see whether they had any sidearms, firearms, or badges?
No.
Okay. And at some point, did you say something to the defendant about going to answer the door?
I did.
And what did he say?
Fine.
I'm sorry?
He did so.
Okay. Do you recall him indicating to you not to answer the door?
Maybe at first, because we were still trying to figure out who these individuals were at our door. But, I mean, eventually we answered the door.
Okay. Well, do you recall how long, when you first took note of lights coming in through your blinds, before anybody went to the door? How much time passed?
It says when I had first seen the lights. Is that what
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
asking? How much time has passed? I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you recall it being a period of approximately 45 minutes, longer or shorter than that?
Then 45 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe about that, maybe a little bit shorter, I'm not sure.
Okay. Ma'am, a moment ago I had asked you about, do you remember him indicating about whether to answer the door or not answer the door?
Right.
And you don't recall him telling you not to answer the door?
I don't remember now.
Okay. Your Honor, if I could approach. Thank you. I'm just going to have you read at line 13, the highlighted portion here, and ask you if that refreshes your memory. Does that refresh your memory, ma'am?
It doesn't, but
I'm sorry?
it doesn't,
It does not.
no.
So do you have a memory of him indicating or saying to you to answer the door?
I don't know.
Okay. So after the passage of some amount of time, does somebody go to answer the door?
Yes,
And who is that?
Aaron.
Okay. Now, during that time, what were you monitoring the surveillance system to see what these two individuals were doing?
I believe at that time I was overlooking from our, I don't know, you want to call it a bridge or however. I think I was just, kind of peering down at him.
Okay. And how long were you doing that?
Might have been the whole time. It might have just been a few minutes. I don't know, because I don't know if the baby was sleeping or whatnot, so.
Okay. And so, at some point, did you ever suggest that it was the police that was outside?
I don't believe so.
Okay, do you recall whether the defendant made some remark or statement about thinking it was the police?
I don't remember that.
Okay. Now, after the defendant went down, could you hear anything, what was going on?
I couldn't.
Okay. And at some point, do you know if he actually left the home for a few minutes?
Yes.
And after leaving the home, did you do anything with your surveillance camera while he was outside of the home?
I might have.
Okay. And what do you think you might have done?
I was probably looking at him speaking to these individuals.
Okay. And how long do you recall him speaking to these individuals?
A few minutes.
Okay. And after those few minutes, did you see him return to the home?
I did.
And after he returned to the home, some number of minutes later, did you actually leave the home yourself?
Yes.
And prior to leaving the home, had you gathered up your child?
Yes.
And approximately, do you recall it being approximately 11 o'clock at night?
It was later.
Okay. And what caused you to gather up your child at, later in the evening?
I was bringing Aaron to the police station.
Okay. And had he asked you to do that? What caused you to do that?
I believe he asked me to.
Okay. So at some point in between then ultimately leaving, did you have a conversation with him about going to the police station?
Not that I could recall.
Okay. Do you recall asking him essentially what's going on?
I might have.
And do you recall what he said to you?
He didn't know.
I'm sorry?
He didn't know.
Okay. And so after that conversation, do you ultimately go to the car?
Yes.
And does he join you at the car?
Wait, you're confusing me because I think you just mentioned that we were in the car when we were having this conversation. Am I wrong?
I'm sorry, I don't think I suggested, but let me just back up to make
Okay.
sure it's clear. I think I asked you, did you just, before you left the home, leave, let's say, Ronald C. Meyer, did you have a conversation with him about what's going on?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall where that conversation was?
That was at the home.
That was inside the home?
Yes.
Okay. And does that change anything about your answer, just he indicated?
No, I just wanted to clarify
Okay.
what time period you were.
That's fine. But after you had asked him, what was his response?
He didn't know.
Okay. And so as a result of that, did you then leave the home?
Yes.
And when you left the home, did you go to the car?
Yes.
And and it was the three of you now, the child and you and Aaron.
Correct.
And where did you go from there?
To the police station.
Okay. How far is the police station from your home?
I don't know, a couple miles.
Okay. And did you get to the police station within 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
I believe so.
Okay. And when you got to the police station, just tell us, what did you do?
I dropped Aaron off.
Okay. Now, at that time, I think you had mentioned, or when we started earlier this morning, about there was this other car that was in the garage. Is that right?
Correct.
And that was the Toyota?
Yes.
To your knowledge, was that Toyota operational?
I don't know.
Okay. Was there any conversation about taking that other car?
No.
And what caused you to go down as opposed to Aaron just borrowing your car or taking the Toyota?
Oh, I wouldn't let him go by himself.
Okay. So it was your choice, or did you volunteer, or did he ask you?
It was mutual.
Okay. And so after you went down, just tell us what happened from there. So you go to the station, do you drop him off?
Right.
And when you drop him off, what happens from there?
I dropped him off, and then I left,
And when
or
you
I pulled out.
Okay. And when you pulled out, was that from out of the parking area?
No, so if we're coming from our home and we're on Route 1, we would be taking a right to the police station. So I pulled into the driveway in front of the police office or building.
Okay.
So that's the parking lot that I pulled out of.
Okay. And so you didn't end up parking, you just dropped him off, and then did you start to go on your way?
Correct.
Okay. And had you had any further conversation with the defendant?
I believe just letting him know to call me.
Okay. So after you dropped him off, at some point as you were driving away, did you see blue lights?
I don't remember if there were any lights.
Okay. Do you know if someone flashed their lights, just the white?
Headlights? I think so.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you...
Pull over?
Yes.
Yes.
And when you pulled over, did somebody come approach your car?
Yes.
And were they, just describe who approached your car?
It was a gentleman. I don't believe he was wearing a jacket. He just may have had on a dress shirt.
Okay. So did you recognize any uniform or just essentially a collared shirt?
It was just a collared shirt.
Okay. And did that individual have a conversation with you?
He did.
And did he identify himself as a police officer?
I believe so.
Okay. And did you then engage in a conversation with him for some period of time?
We did.
And how long would you estimate that you spoke with him?
A few minutes.
Okay. And while you were speaking with him, did something interrupt your conversation?
While I was speaking to him?
Yes. Let me just ask you it this way. Did you receive a phone call at some point during that conversation with this officer?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you recall receiving any phone calls while you were now had pulled over in the area of the police station?
Not at that time.
Okay. When is the next time you recall having conversation with the defendant, Aaron Hernandez?
From?
Just from after dropping him off at the police station.
It was that night.
Okay. How long after dropping him off do you recall having a conversation with him?
Maybe a half hour.
Okay. And during that time, were you still speaking with this officer?
There were two.
Okay. At this point, there were two?
There were always two. Just
I beg your pardon. Okay.
One approached the car first, so there had been two officers.
And this other gentleman that had also approached, just describe how he was dressed.
I believe the same. I'm not too sure. I remember the one that approached my window.
I see, okay. And so during this time, when you next heard from the defendant, was that by way of a phone call?
Yes, I believe so.
And were you with these two officers?
Yes.
And when he called, just tell us, what did he say to you?
He was calling to check on me and let me know that everything was okay.
Okay. And did you have a conversation about where you were, what you were doing at that time?
Yes.
And what did you tell him?
I told him that I was across the street in the parking lot.
And did you indicate, did you indicate that you were talking to or speaking with a couple of officers or with officers?
Yes.
Okay. And what did he say to that?
I believe at that time he let me know to call his agent at the time.
Okay. And did he have any conversation with you at that time about whether you should or shouldn't be speaking with the police?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, after that, excuse me, conversation, did you then did you call the agent you mentioned, or did the agent call you?
Yes, we had
Okay.
communication.
And as a result of that call, did you have any further conversation with the officers?
No.
Okay. Now, after you stopped having a conversation with them, did you then leave?
I did.
And when you left, did you indicate to the police officer where you were going?
Not that I could remember.
Okay. Where did you go?
I went to meet up with Bo.
Okay. Now, what time was it approximately after you left that area of the police station?
The time?
Yes. Just an approximate time.
I don't know.
Okay. Just going back, when you left the home, I think I asked you about whether it was approximately 11 o'clock when you left the home to go to the station. Would you disagree with that being an approximate time?
Okay, so 9:45 is,
Well, let me just, if you know,
Okay.
after you left your home, I think you said it was a 5 or 10 minute travel to get to the station.
right.
Now, once you got to the station, how long did you remain there until you got this phone call and then said that you were going to leave?
How long did I remain there as a sum?
Yeah, as a sum, yes. Do you think it was more than a half hour, less than a half hour, or about a half hour?
I think it might have been more than a half hour.
Okay. So just approximately the time, would you think this is somewhere between 11:30 now and midnight?
I would think so, yes.
Okay. And so after this phone call that you had with the agent, I think you indicated you then went to SIBO?
Yes, meet
Okay.
up with him, yes.
Okay. And what caused you to go to meet or see Bo, meet up with him?
Aaron had told me to meet up with him.
Okay. And so when did he tell you that? Was that before this occasion that you were in the presence of the police officers, or after?
I want to say it was after.
Okay. And how did he tell you to do that?
What do you, form?
The form, yes.
I believe he called me.
Okay. Now, during this time, after you had now left the area, the police station, do you recall over the next several hours having phone communication, either by way of calls or text messages with the defendant, Aaron Hernandez?
I don't remember.
Okay. And to the extent that you indicated he called you and asked you to go meet Bo, what did he tell you?
He told me to meet up with Bo and give him money.
Okay. And As a result of that phone call, when you left the station, where did you go?
To go see Bo.
Okay, and did you know, in the conversation you had with the defendant, did he tell you where Bo was?
I don't remember.
Okay. At any time before you dropped off the defendant at the police station, did he indicate to you that he was having any contact with Bo?
Him personally having
Yes.
contact with Bo? No, he didn't
Okay.
indicate that. to me.
And did you hear him talking on the phone at all to Bo?
Who's that? Oh, Aaron?
Yes.
talking?
From the time the police arrived at your home till the time you dropped him off at the police station?
No.
Okay. So after now leaving, or the defendant telling you to go meet up with Bo and get him, or give him money, do you know where you first went? Where did you first travel to?
I first traveled to... I can't even tell you. It was an exit number.
Okay. And how did you know to travel to that location?
I don't know if it was communication with Bo or Aaron. I don't know.
Okay. Are you familiar, you've lived in North Attleboro, I think you've indicated, about 3 years?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the town of Franklin?
I'm not familiar with it, no.
Okay. Have you ever traveled to Franklin?
Once.
Okay. And on that one occasion, was that on this date?
Yes.
Okay. And what caused you to travel to Franklin?
I was supposed to meet Bo there.
Okay. When you say you were supposed to, who told you that?
Aaron.
And where did he say you were supposed to meet him?
I don't know. I was just given an exit number.
Okay. And so as a result of just getting an exit number, did you then, did you have a GPS at that time?
Yes.
Do you know if you used that to try and navigate your way to that exit number?
I don't think so.
Okay. Were there other directions given to you aside from the exit number?
Maybe the highway to travel on, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you recall what the highway was to travel on?
I don't.
Okay. And are you familiar with 495?
Yes.
And do you recall that night after leaving the station, based on your conversation with the defendant, traveling on that highway, 495?
I could have. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, do you recall how long you traveled after leaving the station? Just the approximate time.
Felt like forever. I have no idea.
Okay. At some point, were you able to find that exit?
Yes.
And when you found the exit, what did you do from there?
I pulled into a shopping plaza.
Okay. Now, during the time that you were traveling, were you maintaining any contact with the defendant by way of phone, or phone calls or texts?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you then, after he had told you to meet up with Bo and bring him money, did you have any phone contact with Bo?
Yes.
Okay. How many times did you talk to Bo?
I think several.
Okay. And during that time, were you getting any additional directions of where to go?
Yes.
Now, as you traveled toward this shopping, or ultimately arriving at a shopping center in Franklin area,
Yes.
were you able to meet anybody at that location?
No.
Had you spoken to Bo about where he was at the time you arrived at the shopping center?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. When you got to the shopping center, had there been a plan to meet at that location?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, what caused you to go to the shopping center?
I think I might have just took it upon myself to stop.
Okay. And I think you had indicated you initially were given an exit number by the defendant.
Right.
So you traveled to that location.
Right.
And how far was that shopping center from that exit?
think it was right off of the exit. I think there was a gas station and then the shopping center.
Okay. So after you arrived there, did you then try and contact somebody to find out what you were supposed to do?
Yes.
Who did you contact?
Bo, I believe.
Okay. Do you recall having any additional contact with the defendant?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Were you able to contact Bo?
I don't know if I was able to immediately, but yes.
Okay. How long did you remain at that location?
A few minutes?
Okay. And during that time you were there, how many times did you attempt to contact him?
A few.
Okay. And ultimately, were you successful?
Yes.
And when you were able to contact him, did you tell him where you were now located?
I believe so.
And did he indicate where he was?
I believe so.
And was that in that area?
I don't think it was relatively close, no.
I'm sorry?
I don't think it was close.
Okay. What made you think that?
He let me know that we had to meet up somewhere else, basically.
Okay. And when you say we had to meet up somewhere else, after being in the shopping center for some number of minutes, where did you go?
I got back on the highway.
When you say you got back on the highway, was that the same highway that led you to that first exit, or the exit that you took to get to the shopping center?
I believe so.
Okay. In that highway, do you remember what highway that was? Going back now.
It might have been 495, so.
Okay. Do you recall where you traveled? So essentially, at some point, did you leave the town of Franklin?
Yes.
And where did you travel from there?
Towards Providence.
Okay. And what caused you to travel towards Providence?
Bo and I were trying to find each other.
Okay. And did he indicate where he was at this time?
I believe he said he was coming from Connecticut.
Okay. Now, as a result, excuse me, Your Honor, if I could. Ma'am, do you recall, after leaving Franklin and heading towards Providence, would that be in a direction either towards North Attleboro or away from North Attleboro?
Towards, I believe.
Okay. Do you recall, as you were traveling in that direction, did you go back towards your home at any point?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So what route would you be traveling on now towards Providence?
Honestly, I have no idea. Whatever is towards Providence. I'm not good with highways.
Do you know, was it a highway or just some other road?
It was a highway, I believe.
Okay. Are you familiar with Route 95?
Yes.
And have you traveled on that route before?
Yes.
And do you believe that was the route you were traveling on to get to Providence?
Yes, that
Okay.
could have been.
Now, during the time that you're traveling to Providence, are you in phone contact with anybody?
Yes.
And who are you speaking with or communicating with by text or call?
Bo.
Okay. And when you're getting toward the area of Providence, does he indicate where he is?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you then, as a result, once you get to Providence, do you stop there or do you continue to go somewhere else?
I believe I continued.
Okay. And where did you go from there?
I'm not sure. I found an exit and I got off.
Okay. How far after passing through Providence did you find an exit?
Maybe a few miles. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know whether it was, were you still traveling on, when you say you found an exit, were you still traveling on Route 95?
I believe so.
Okay. Are you familiar with the town of East Greenwich, Rhode Island?
Yes.
And do you know whether you've ever been there?
Not from my knowledge.
Okay. At some point you said you found an exit or you took an exit?
Yes.
And what caused you to take that particular exit?
There was a sign that had restaurants and gas and stuff like that. I thought that would be the perfect spot to stop.
Okay. And so did you actually stop at that location where these businesses were?
Yes.
And all the while that you've been driving, first to Franklin, or first, I guess, down to North Attleboro Police Station, then to Franklin, now down through Providence to this exit that you've taken, it's, in your car is just yourself and your child?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you arrive at this area where you've noticed some businesses, what do you do there?
I was waiting.
Okay, and when you say you were waiting, who were you waiting for?
Bo.
And during that time, stretch of time, were you having any communication with the defendant, Aaron Hernandez?
I don't know.
Do you recall any conversations after he had indicated for you to go meet Bo and bring him money?
Do I recall any conversations?
Yes, during the next hour or two.
I don't.
Okay. And when you went to Franklin, at that time, were you aware of an apartment building?
Yes.
And had you ever been there before?
No.
On this night that you've described going to a shopping plaza or shopping center, did you go to that apartment?
No.
Okay. Were you giving, did anyone give you any directions or the name of that apartment?
No.
Okay. So once, now, after you had pulled off this exit, how long did you wait before you met with anybody?
Maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. And who did you meet with after 10 or 15 minutes?
Bo.
And when you say Bo, how was he traveling?
He had a car.
And what kind of car was that?
I don't know.
Do you recall the color?
No.
Do you recall whether it was a sedan or a truck or SUV?
A sedan.
Okay. And when you met with Bo, just tell us the area where you met with him.
I pulled into a McDonald's, and that's about it.
Okay. And how close were you to his car?
My car was, I don't know how to explain it. If this is the front of the McDonald's, my car was here. My car was here, and then his car was parked towards the road.
Okay. And at some point, did you then exit your car to go see him or make contact with him?
I did not.
Okay. Did he get out of his car?
Yes.
And did you make any observations of anybody else in his car?
Not at that time.
Okay. At some later point?
Yes.
How much later?
Say maybe a few minutes later.
Okay. And how was that you were able to then see somebody else in the car?
I had gone to the bank and then came back and parked next to him.
Okay. So when you first meet at McDonald's, he comes over to your car?
Yes.
How, and does he have a conversation with you?
Yes.
And what does he say?
Objection.
Counsel.
So, ma'am, after you had arrived at the McDonald's, I think you indicated you were there for some number of minutes, 10 minutes or so?
Yes.
And at that time, was your attention drawn to a particular vehicle in the lot, or did you get a phone contact?
Neither.
Okay. How was it that you were able to meet up with Bo?
He came to the vehicle.
Okay. And so when you pulled in, do you know if his vehicle was already at that location?
I don't know.
Okay. So in any event, at some point he came over to your car,
Yes.
and after there was a conversation that you had with him at that time.
Yes.
And just tell us, what did he say?
He asked me if I was okay. He let me know that everything was going to be okay. And he asked how the baby was doing, and that's about it.
Okay. And as to what was going on, was there any conversation about what was going on?
No, I think where he said that everything will be okay, I think it referred to everything going on.
Okay. And after you had, so how long did that conversation last?
A couple minutes.
And after that, did he then leave? Was he, let me just back up, was he alongside your window when you were having this conversation, or did he get in the car?
He got in the car.
I see. And after that conversation that you've described, was there anything else that you two talked about?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that?
He asked me to withdraw money, a dollar amount, I forget how much.
Okay. And did he indicate what he needed that money for?
No.
Okay. And so as a result of him asking and the defendant having told you to go meet him and give him money, did you do that?
I did.
And how did you do that?
How did I give him money?
Yes. Did you have some amount of money on you?
I did not.
Okay. So what did you do?
I went to the bank that was maybe 1 or 2 buildings over on the same side as the McDonald's.
Okay. Do you recall what that bank was?
I don't.
Now, at this time, did you have a debit card for a particular bank?
Yes.
And what bank was that?
This would be Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, however.
Okay. And with your Bank of America Merrill Lynch, did you have a card that you could use on certain ATMs?
Yes.
And did that include Bank of America ATMs?
Yes.
Do you know whether this was a Bank of America?
No.
Are you familiar with a bank called Webster Bank?
I am.
And had you ever been to Webster Bank before?
I'm sure.
Okay. Do you know whether you went to a Webster Bank this night or this, well, is it night still at this time?
Yes.
Okay. And, or do you
I would
know
say
if
early
it's
morning.
after midnight?
I would say early morning.
Okay. And do you know if the bank, so at some point do you go to an ATM?
I do.
And do you know if that was a Webster Bank ATM?
I don't.
Now, are you able to withdraw a sum of money?
Yes.
And how much money are you able to withdraw?
I believe it was $500.
Okay. And how was that amount determined? What amount did you try and take out?
I don't remember the dollar amount that he asked for. I just remember going back and telling him $500 is all I could take out.
And was there some sort of maximum for the ATM?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall, when you say you don't remember the amount he had asked, do you recall him asking for an amount greater than $500?
Yes.
Okay. And as a result of that limitation, did you withdraw $500?
I did.
And what did you do with that $500?
I drove back and gave it to Bo.
So at the time that you drove over to the Webster Bank from McDonald's, had he exited your car?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when he had exited your car, did you get anywhere closer towards the car that he came out of?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got closer, did you see anybody else in the car?
I did.
And who did you see?
Carlos?
Okay. And Carlos, do you know his full name?
Carlos Ortiz.
Okay. And was that the same individual that you had seen with Bo during the course of the day around your pool and
Yes.
in your home?
Yes.
And did you have any conversation when you had come back with either Carlos and/or Bo?
With Bo, yes.
Okay. And was that inside or outside of the car?
I was inside. I believe he might have been outside at this point.
Okay. Did you go, when you returned, did you go near their car, like either alongside it or closer to it?
Yes, we were right next to each other.
I see. And so when you had pulled in right next to each other, were you alongside your driver's door? Is that alongside the passenger side of their car or in some different location?
My passenger door was next to his driver side
I
door.
see. And who was driving? When you pulled in, who was in the driver's seat?
Bo.
And when you pulled in, did he exit the car?
He did.
And where did he go?
I don't remember if he came around to my window or actually got in the passenger seat. I don't remember.
Okay. In any event, how long were you now alongside that car?
How long? A few minutes, I think.
And during that time, did you give him the money that you had just withdrawn?
I did.
And did you have any further conversation with him?
I remember telling him to be safe. That's about it.
Okay. And during this time, did you have any conversation with Ortiz?
No.
Did he ever get out of the car and come towards your car?
No.
Okay. So after that few minutes, what did you do?
After the few minutes, I'm sorry.
When Bo either came alongside of your car, or came back into your car.
What did I do?
Yes, what did you do?
When, besides giving him the money and engaging in a little conversation, that was it.
Okay, and then as a result of that, did you then ultimately depart?
Yes.
And when you left, where did you go? Where did you travel to now?
Home.
And approximately how far was home for you?
Like I said, it seemed like I was driving forever. I don't know.
Okay. And did you go directly home?
From my knowledge, yes.
And during the course of your travel now to home, were you making any or having any phone conversations or contacts with anybody?
I was.
And who was that?
My mother, Shania, I believe Brian Murphy at that time, and I think that might be it.
Okay. And when you say your mother, was she living in Connecticut at that time?
Yes.
And Shania, obviously your sister, and she
Yes.
was in Connecticut at that time?
Yes.
And Brian Murphy, you mentioned his name. Is he the same person when earlier you had referred to as the agent?
Yes.
Okay. And he had called you back when you were, I think you had indicated he had called you when you were back at the police station talking to the officers, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Had you had any conversation with him in between those times, when you were with the officers and now call?
You're referring to Brian Murphy?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe one or two, I'm not too sure.
Okay. And with regard to the defendant, do you recall having conversations with him during the same period of time?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now, at some point in the course of the at some point after dropping off the defendant at North Attleboro Police Station, do you recall receiving a text message from him?
From Aaron?
From Aaron, correct.
Do I remember? No, I don't.
Okay. Do you recall Your Honor, may I approach the open? Just going to put on the screen what has previously been marked 158. Direct your attention to the top text there. Do you recognize that text, having received that at 12:14 in the morning of June now the 18th, 2013?
Yes.
And who sent you this text?
Eric?
And that text indicated going back of the screen in movie room when you get home, there is the box AVL likes to play with in the tub, just in case you were looking for it. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Remember how you ruined that big TV, LMAO, capital letters, was just thinking about that LOL, wink, wink, love you, TTYL, ... K. Is that the message that you had received?
Yes.
Now, ma'am, did you understand that message when you received it?
I did not.
Do you have a movie room in your home?
We do?
And is there a screen in that movie room?
Yes.
And is there something in the back of the screen in the movie room?
Yes.
And what is that?
A compartment with all of our electronical devices.
Okay. And when you say electronic devices, are there certain electronic devices there that relate to your security system, your surveillance?
Yes.
And your daughter at this time was how old? AVL, am I pronouncing that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How old was AVL?
At this time?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
She born in November of 2012?
8 months?
Approximately 8 months. And did she play in the tub with a box?
Toys, yes.
Okay. And with regard to toys, were there any toys that were stored behind this screen in your movie room that she played with in the tub?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Now, you weren't looking for a box behind the screen in the movie room during the early morning hours of June 18, 2013, were you?
No.
Now, at some point, did you have a TV? Did something happen to a big TV that you had?
Yes.
What was that, ma'am?
I left it too close to the fireplace and it melted.
And how long had that occurred prior to receiving this text message on 12/14 on June 18th?
I don't know.
And ma'am, do you know what LMAO is?
I have, I guess, one definition of it.
Okay, is that sort of a text shorthand for something?
Yes.
And what do you understand that to be?
Laugh my ass off.
Okay. And you also know what, excuse me, TTYL is?
Yes.
Okay, what does that stand for?
Talk to you later.
And LOL, I think that's generally accepted. Do you know what that stands for?
Laugh out loud.
And so, wink, wink, does that have any meaning to you?
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I guess just being a jokester, that's about it.
Okay. Now, as a result of receiving this, you indicated you didn't understand?
I did not, no.
Okay. Did you later have a conversation with the defendant about the substance of that text message?
Not from my knowledge, no.
Okay. Now, do you recall, as a result of receiving that text message, that you responded?
Yes.
And when did you respond?
12:19 a.m.
Okay. And does this accurately show your response, your text response?
Yes.
And does that indicate, okay, that was awful, perfect TV, love you?
Yes.
And then was there a further text back from the defendant?
Yes.
And what time did that text, did you receive that text?
12:20 a.m.
And does that indicate, love you more than life, see you soon, let me know when you're almost home, or like 10 minutes from home?
Yes.
And did you then send a text message back, equal K, 1221?
I did.
And then there was a further text back from the defendant, 1221, equal is right.
Yes.
Now, how long after this text, well, let me ask you this. During the time of 1214 to 1221, do you recall where you were?
I was either with Bo or on my way home. I'm not sure.
And I think you indicated that there was a, I think you indicated it was sometime after, let me withdraw that. The time that you went to the ATM, approximately what time do you recall doing that?
I don't know what time I went to the ATM.
Do you believe that to be sometime in the early morning hours of June 18th?
Yes.
If I could approach, thank you. Let me approach you. Excuse me. And I'm just going to place on the overhead what's been marked 391, being records from Webster Jail. Now, ma'am, do you remember the locations of the ATM that you described going to after you met with Bo?
What do you mean as far as the location?
Yes, do you remember the street address, or let me start this way. Do you remember the city or town?
I don't.
Okay. And in terms of the time, I was just asking some questions about your estimate of time. Do you recall going to the ATM at approximately 12:48 a.m. on the 18th of June?
I don't remember the exact time.
Okay. Ma'am, I'm just placing on the overhead. What's marked is number 303. Is it 303? And just about the ruler here, this would be a numeral number 86. That's showing the date of June 17th. Right there. The one just up at 85. Can you see those numbers all right?
I can.
Can?
Yes.
Thank you. On June 17th, 2013, at 10:59, to recall, receive, do you recognize this number, the calling, the originating number here?
Yes.
Okay, and whose number is that?
Aaron's.
And the called number, you recognize that?
I do.
Who's that?
That's my number.
That's at 10:59. At 11:03, you recognize this number.
I do.
So the originating number is whose?
Mine.
And you recognize this number.
I do.
I'm sorry?
I don't.
Okay. Do you remember what Bo's number was?
I do not.
Going to number 87. At 11:13, you recognize this number.
Yes.
Who's that?
Aaron's.
And that was the calling number?
Yes.
And you were the person who called. Let's write that. Is it, you recognize this as your number?
Yes.
At 11:18, you recognize this number.
Yes.
Who's that?
Aaron's.
And who did he call?
Me.
Excuse me, Your Honor, could Mr. McCauley display the rest of the line so that we can see the connection time, please?
I don't think I can put that all on. Can you see this, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
You might be able to do it a bit.
Is that? Ma'am, let me just back this down here, see if you can see this. Right up here, ma'am, can you see this? What that says?
What? Elapsed time?
Yes, okay, so let me just, this here, seizure time, is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
And this elapsed time?
Yes.
Okay, so, court's permission, Your Honor, if I could just have those as contained in the screen as to the times. Is that agreeable, Mr. Rankin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. McCauley.
Now, just gonna, back here at 11:21, you recognize this number?
I do.
Who is that?
Aaron.
And who's Aaron calling?
Myself.
11:25, see whose number this is?
I do.
Who is that?
Aaron.
Who is he calling?
Myself again.
11:38, you see this number?
Yes.
And whose number is that?
Mine.
And who did you call? You recognize this number?
I recognize the area code. It's California, so I'm assuming that's Brian Murphy. I'm not too sure.
Is that consistent with your memory? Sometime around 11:30-ish, you had a phone contact with Brian Murphy?
I don't remember the time, but I did have contact with him, yes.
Okay. Now, was that while you were still in the vicinity of the North Attleboro Police Station?
I think so, maybe. I'm not too sure.
Okay. Now, on the 17th, approximately 11:38, recognize this number?
I do.
Whose number is that?
Aaron?
And who was he calling?
Me.
And at 11:39, you recognize this number?
I do.
And did you have the ability to receive text messages on that phone?
Yes.
Okay. And the messaging being to whose number?
This is a message here?
Well, let me just ask you this. Was there a phone contact that you see with the number of the number called?
Yes.
Okay. 11:40, records show a call by this number. You recognize that?
I do.
And the called number was who?
Me.
11:41, whose number?
Aaron's?
And the called number.
Me.
11:41, who is calling?
Aaron?
And who is he calling?
Me.
$11:43. You recognize this number?
I do.
And who did you call?
I believe that's Brian Murphy.
11:44. Call.
Are you asking? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Recognize this number?
I do.
And who is this number calling?
That's Aaron.
11:46. This number?
Excuse me, Mr.
Aaron.
McCauley, could you use the eraser in rather than the pencil in?
Oh.
It looks like there's marks being put on the exhibit.
I'm sorry. At 11:47, ma'am. Who was calling?
Aaron?
And whose number called?
Me.
11:49, you recognize that number again?
Yes.
Is that Murphy?
Yes.
Okay, and he was calling you?
Correct.
11:59. Recognize this number?
Yes.
And who are you calling?
I don't recognize that number. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you recall who you were calling at around midnight on this 17th into the 18th of 2013?
Bo?
How many times did you call Bo that evening? Just an estimate.
I don't know.
Now, into the early morning hours of the 18th, 12:01, you recognize this number?
I do.
And calling
Bo?
12:07, recognize this number?
I do.
Calling
Murph?
12:13, recognize this number?
I do.
Who are you calling?
Bo?
12:28, you recognize this number?
Yep, that's me.
Who are you calling?
Bo?
12:41, recognize this number?
I do.
And whose number is that?
That's Bo's.
I'm sorry.
Bo's?
Okay. And who is he calling?
Me.
12:43, recognize this number?
I do.
And whose number?
Mine?
And who are you calling?
Bo?
12:45, recognize this number?
I do.
And whose number is that?
That's me.
And who are you calling?
Bo?
1:02 in the morning, recognize this number?
I do.
Who is that?
That's Bo,
And who is he calling?
me.
One 10 in the morning, you recognize this number.
I don't.
Okay. 1:15 in the morning, you recognize this number.
I do.
Whose number is that?
That's Bo,
And who is he calling?
me.
1:24 in the morning, you recognize this number.
I do.
Whose number is that?
My mother,
And she was calling.
me.
1:36 in the morning, whose number is that?
Aaron,
And who is he calling?
me.
Also at 1:36 in the morning, you recognize this?
That's me.
And who are you calling?
I don't know.
I think you've already indicated this number you don't recognize.
I'm sorry, which number?
I'm sorry, these next three.
No, I know who.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay, 1:36, whose number is this?
Shania's?
Oh, and Sinead, that's your sister?
Yes.
And she called you, she called who?
Me.
And that indicates, in terms of elapsed time, 00, is that right?
That's correct.
And it appears there was another call at 1:36 from that same number,
Right.
at Shania,
Yes.
and she called who?
Me.
You recall whether that call connected.
It did.
And at 1:37, who called?
Shania.
And who did she call?
Me.
And then at 1:38 in the morning, you recognize this number?
I do.
Who was that?
Shania.
And she's calling.
Me.
1:39 in the morning, whose number is this?
Me.
And who did you call?
I don't know.
Ma'am, at 1:39, you recognize this number?
I do.
Who is that?
Shania.
And she's calling.
Me.
1:40.
Me.
That was you calling. Shania again.
Yes.
1:43. And let me ask you this, ma'am. When was the first time since you had learned about Odin Lloyd's death that you were able to speak to your sister, Shania?
A little bit after I left from speaking with the police.
And had you called, were you able to make contact with her?
Eventually, yes.
Now, this is showing 1:43, that was a call from who?
My mother.
To you? To you?
Correct.
Okay, 1:43. 1:45. Who's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bo.
Okay, and he's calling.
Me.
Now, do you recall, at 1:45 in the morning, do you recall your conversation? At this time, do you believe that you had already left Rhode Island and was heading home?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you recall what that conversation was about, why he was calling you?
No.
Going to the next one, 1:45. Whose number is that?
My mother's.
And she's calling.
Me.
1:45, that's you calling.
I don't know.
1:45, is that your mother again?
Yes, it is.
Calling you.
Yes.
1:47, is that you calling?
Shania.
2:03, whose number is that?
My mother.
calling?
Me.
12,
It's me.
calling?
Murph.
Now, you're calling Murph, was that as a result, just yes or no, of any conversations that you had had with the defendant?
Was it a result in that?
Yes, I mean, had he requested you call him? Just yes or no?
I don't know.
Okay. 2:15 now, in the morning. Recognize that number?
I don't.
2:19 in the morning, you recognize that number?
Yes. It's my mother.
Okay, calling.
Me.
2:35,
It's my mother.
calling.
Me.
2:52 a.m.
Shania.
She's calling.
Me.
4:23, recognize that number.
I don't.
4:24, recognize that?
Which one? The one
I'm
that the
sorry.
eraser's at?
You recognize this is yours?
Yes.
And who are you calling if you don't?
I don't.
Now, do you know what time you arrived at your home? Coming back from Raleigh?
I don't remember.
Okay. And you recognize this number, the 704 number?
I don't.
And 526, that's your number calling? You don't
I'm sorry,
recognize-
where are we?
I'm
You
sorry.
might have to move the paper up, I think.
140, the line item number 140. At 5:26 in the morning, is that your number
It is.
calling? Do you recognize that?
I don't.
And then at 7:46 in the morning, you recognize this number?
I do.
And who's that?
Aaron.
And who's calling?
Me.
And at 7:47, whose number?
Me.
Calling.
Aaron.
And 8:24,
It's Aaron.
calling.
Me.
And 8:25,
Me.
calling.
Aaron.
Okay. And ma'am, that morning at approximately 8, like that, the last four that we had asked you about, 7:46, 7:47, 8:24, 8:25, phone contacts between yourself and the defendant, do you know where he was at that time?
What time frame was this?
I'm sorry?
What time frame was this?
Time frame was 7:47 and then 8:23 in the morning. Do you recall? Let me just ask you, excuse me one second, please. Did you recall whether you were both actually at your home?
During that time?
Yes.
I don't know.
Now, as a result of having gone down Rhode Island and coming back, did you, at some time late or early that morning, this would be now on the 18th, did somebody come to your home?
Can you repeat that?
Sure, let me just ask it this way. Your sister Shania, you were trading certain phone calls as you were in the early morning hours of the 18th, is that right?
Yes.
And at this time, you understood she had learned about what had happened.
Yes.
Did she then travel to your home? At some
That's-
point, did she come?
Yes, she came to my house, yes.
What time did she arrive at your house?
I don't know, it was some hour in the morning. I'm not sure of the time.
Okay. Do you recall it being like still dark out, or was it light out by the time she arrived?
No, it was sometime in the morning, it was light out, I believe.
Now, when she arrived, Did she come into a particular location in your home?
When she arrived,
Yes, like did you all go and sit down somewhere?
we did eventually, yes.
Okay, and when she arrived with somebody?
Yes.
Who was that?
My uncle?
And is that Uncle Donnie?
Correct.
And did you, at some point, did you settle into the family room?
Yes.
Now, where was the defendant when your sister arrived?
I believe he was sleeping.
Okay. And do you know how long he continued to sleep after your sister arrived?
I don't.
Okay. At some point, you recall going upstairs after an hour or two of your sister's arrival.
Yes,
And when you went upstairs, did you go to the bedroom?
I did.
And did you see the defendant?
Yes.
And what was he doing?
I believe he was still sleeping.
Okay. At some point, do you recall then the next occasion you saw him where he was actually awake?
I think so, I'm not too sure.
Okay. Do you recall how long after, when you had gone upstairs, that you saw him awake? Excuse me.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sure, I'm sorry. Do you recall how long after you had gone up to, your sister arrived? Within an hour or two of that, I think I asked you that whether you had gone upstairs and saw whether Aaron was up, awake.
Right.
You indicate he was asleep.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The next time, or how long after, when you saw him sleeping, after your sister had arrived, did you actually see him up, awake?
How long?
Yes, if you know. Thank you.
I don't know.
Okay. Do you recall the next, when you did see him awake, at some point going into the bedroom, seeing him awake, seeing him doing something?
I believe so.
And what was that?
I think he was up and moving around.
Okay. Do you recall whether at some point you had seen him watching TV?
I think so, I'm not too sure.
Okay, and do you know how long he watched TV for?
I don't.
Okay. After whatever that time was, did you see him up and moving around?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, did you have a conversation with him?
I might have, I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let me ask it this way. At some point after he got up, was he there for a certain period of time before he then left?
Yes.
Okay, and how long was he there for after you saw him up and about?
I don't know, maybe a half hour.
Okay. And in that half-hour time, did he ask you to do something for him?
He did.
And what was that?
Wash a shirt, I think it was.
And do you remember, excuse me, do you remember what kind of shirt it was?
I don't.
Okay. And so after that half-hour time, did you see him leave the home?
Yes.
And when he left the home on that date, this would now be on the morning of the 18th, did you see what vehicle he took?
On the 18th, he took my vehicle.
Okay, and that is the Audi white SUV?
Correct.
Okay. Now, sometime after he left, within a few hours, do you have an approximate time of when he left?
I don't.
Okay. But within a few hours of him leaving, did you receive a phone call from him?
Before we get to this new area, it's a moment before 4, so we're going to stop at this time. Please keep your mind suspended. Continue to avoid anything at all about this case or Mr. Hernandez that could appear in any newspaper, television, or radio or magazine or any other media, or that may appear in any social media, Facebook, Twitter, or anything else. Please continue to avoid speaking, emailing, texting, or otherwise communicating in any fashion with anyone, including each other, about the case or Mr. Hernandez. And if anyone starts any form of communication with you, please end it immediately. Please do not do any research about this case, Mr. Hernandez, or anything that you think could in any way be relevant to your jury service or this case. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday morning.
Hear ye. All persons having anything further to do before the Honorable, the Justice E. Susan Gosh of the Superior Court, now sitting at Fall River within and for the Commonwealth, depart and give your attendance here Monday morning at 9 a.m., to which time and place the sitting of this court is now adjourned. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now adjourned.
She's in the middle of testimony, and this court cannot and will not suspend her testimony until a trial is finished. She is in the middle of testimony. Her testimony will go forward.
With all due respect, Your Honor, the Commonwealth asked almost every question 3 times. I have never seen a direct examination drag as much as it did.
Judge, I'm going to object to this.
I'm not through.
I object to this. I object to this.
I would like
She's out
to
of
finish
order.
what I'm stating.
Objection is overruled. She may speak.
Thank you. Much irrelevant evidence, much dragging out of this case. The fact is, Your Honor, I don't know what to do. I'd ask you to call Judge Woodlock. I have a 12-person jury waiting for me. I have a large number of people that I'm responsible for appearing in front of.
I will have the clerk call Judge Woodlock's clerk and indicate, as you know, we had the trial was, we lost 2 hours this morning because of the court's need to interview a variety of jurors and ruling on the motion in limine, which required the voir dire of your client. There is no way that, and any counsel knows at any time whether, how long it takes for a particular witness. And there's no way that any other judge knows how long another witness is going to take in another trial. This witness was certainly anticipated to take a very long time. She testified on a variety of issues before the grand jury, and there were a variety of issues that she was not asked questions about at the grand jury that I would anticipate would be asked here based on the evidence. Whether you informed or didn't inform Judge Woodlock that there was always a